My name is Jakub Janda. I am Director of European Value Center for Security Policy, and I'm currently in Taipei, in Taiwan, because we are actually opening our office in Taiwan to exchange exact political and security experience between Taiwan and mainly Central European democracies, being government institutions or civil society organizations like think tanks. Currently, we are the only private European think tank with an office on presence in Taipei, which gives us a lot of access to many partners in Taiwan, from government or civil society or the media or academia. And that's exactly what I think many other European researchers and institutions should be doing, because Taiwan has extensive experience, first in democracy building here in the Asian context, and second, Taiwan has experience in building resilience against external pressure. And by that, I specifically mean the coercion of the Chinese Communist Party, which goes through on many levels against Taiwan and Taiwanese institutions and society. So, in a nutshell, Taiwan is on the front line of democracies which are actually facing off against the pressure of Chinese Communist Party. And that's exactly why we as Europeans, we as European experts, politicians, security officials, actually have many things to learn from Taiwan, because Taiwan has a unique and I would say very similar democratic experience with Central European countries, because Central European countries actually lived for approximately 4 decades under non-democratic regimes. And we have gone through our own democratization in 1990s and try to get back to the global stage and international organizations, which is similar to what Taiwan and Taiwanese society has experienced. So we share much of our history and much of similar problems, I would say, inside of our societies. Because we are democratic societies, it means that there are public discussions, there's free media, there's free political discussion, there are free elections. So politicians change in our countries, which is natural and which is correctly right, because that's why we are democracies. We have a power of the people to vote individual politicians into office or out of office in elections. But specifically on national security issues, where we as a think tank focus on, there is so much of knowledge which Taiwan and Taiwanese institutions have on understanding the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. Because Chinese Communist Party, I would say, is the #1 global threat to any liberal democracy, not only in political, but also in military and security and economic sense. And the Taiwanese society, its institutions, its experts, have great knowledge of this #1 threat, which is facing all of us. Sometimes in Europe, we have actually experience, or we have a feeling that the Chinese Communist Party is so far away, given the geographical distance. But unfortunately, we have so much of that coercion, intimidation, and penetration of European democratic societies done by the Chinese Communist Party. And Taiwan is a great resource in understanding not only the threat, but more importantly, how to actually build what we call democratic resilience, which is exactly how institutions and societal institutions can actually be, let's say, resilient domestically. So you could have a lively and free and liberal democracy domestically, while at the same time being very strong in defending your own national sovereignty, which is exactly what Taiwan is doing. And we in Central Europe have similar experience with Russia, because Russia is a neighbor which is militarily threatening us in Central and Eastern Europe, but also trying to penetrate and poison much of our society and political public discussions with disinformation, for example. So there are so many good similarities, I would say, between Central European democracies and Taiwan. And that's exactly why my own think tank is actually setting up our presence in Taipei, so we could serve as a bridge between those two, let's say, regions and individual democratic countries, so that there could be exchange not only of information and experience, but let's say of visiting fellows, for example. So we could bring Taiwanese experts to Central Europe, where there has not been much of Taiwanese presence yet, given our own history, and also bring Central European experts or government officials to Taipei, to Taiwan, where they could actually exchange much more than all of that meetings. So that's exactly what I think we should be doing much more in Central Europe. My own think tank is currently the first one to do it, but I really hope that there'll be many more coming from Central Europe or generally from Europe to Taiwan for more long-term cooperation, not only for short delegations or conferences, but for more long-term presence, which is exactly what you need if you want to build trust between people and institutions. And that's what we know from European integration, European Union or NATO. You need to build trust between people, so there could be much more direct cooperation in the security area or in political areas as well. And I think at this moment, we could see a lot of political and diplomatic momentum between countries like Lithuania, Czech Republic, or Slovakia towards Taiwan, which is good. That's the first initial step. And then the next phase is to do more practical cooperation and projects where specifically in the field of national security, that's where my own think tank focuses on, but we need much more in a broader scope.